There is actually cooks that will cook for you. There is pharmacies. There is a hospital. It's a whole system, right? And from those schools emerged one of the greatest scholars of the time, which is Imam al-Ghazali, right? And Imam al-Ghazali was a crucial element in fighting the Ismailis and the philosophers, and he would lead a reform motion, as we'll see, inshallah, today. And therefore, I didn't show that last time, or maybe I did, I don't know. So we usually have, I will draw two lines. So this is the historic line, the one on top. Those are Hijri years. You add 600, so we're like the year 500 Hijri. What is it? It's the year 1100, roughly, right? So add 600 if you want, the current Western time, right? So this is the line of events when the Crusaders came around 500, roughly. This is where Nuruddin Zengi and Salahuddin al-Ayyubi appear. Mongols will attack, right, like in about 617, and they will destroy Baghdad, like in maybe 656, right? So this is the timeline. With the timeline and historic events, we want to see what scholars affected the timeline. So Imam al-Ghazali is here. Later on, there is Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, Imam ibn al-Jawzi. Those are very famous names. Abu al-Hasan al-Shadhili, like you can see Ibn Taymiyyah, you see Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Kathir. Those are great scholars that up till today, we study their works, right? But the reason this is important, you can see the historic environment they lived in. And we can tell which scholar affected the timeline. So if you want to study Salahuddin and Nuruddin Zengi, those names, especially those, Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, Sheikh Ahmed al-Rifa'i, definitely Imam al-Ghazali, Ibn al-Jawzi, those were the people living in his time. So their teaching, their books, are the teaching and the books that Salahuddin and his people read. So if I want to say, like, who taught Salahuddin, what did he read? I can go read the works of those scholars, which is available today. Right? I can raise my kids, like you can raise yourself, you can learn. If you want to be like Salahuddin, I have to learn from those scholars. Right. And again, those are some books of, some of the works of the scholars of the time. I'll just leave that for now, right? I'll give you one link. If you want really a simplified book that represents the work of all the scholars of the time, abbreviated and explained in a matter that's relevant to us, Minhaj al-Qasidi, right, by Qudama al-Maqdisi, which is a summary of Ihya Ulumuddin by al-Ghazali, and Sheikh Omar Suleiman has a great lecture series where he explains this book. It's available on this link in the Maghrib online. I would highly recommend that. If you're interested to see what did scholars say in a way that's relevant to us today, if you don't want to read, please, this is the one I would highly recommend. Right. Now let's go back to the timeline. And today we're going to see, today's episode, I will call it the tide of change. How does change happen? And when change happens, what to expect? And let me tell you this. We want to change our condition, right, today. Which is what happened. The Muslims were very weak, the Muslims got defeated, Jerusalem fell to the Franks. Now some people would want to resist. What do you think is the biggest obstacle that those people will face?
Maybe the power.
Power, what else? So what will be the biggest obstacle if we want to change our current reality? What will really cause us grief? Is it the Israelis? Is it the United States and the support to Israel? Is it what? You know what I mean? The Muslims. It's us. Us. And today you will see this. The amount of frustration that you will see, because when the stab comes from the back, when the stab comes from the people I'm trying to defend, when my own family members are the one that betray me, it is very difficult, right? So it's one thing to fight an external enemy. He's the enemy, so I understand he's fighting me. But when my own brother by my side is the one that stabs me in the back, that is very frustrating. Yet, despite this frustration, we need to continue. And today's lesson is about that. When we want to change, what happens? And the biggest obstacles. So I'm going to start with just a description of the situation in the time, to show you how it was, and then the tide of change, how the change. So eventually, as we said, the Franks took all the cities in the coast, right? And the Muslims were still divided. You have Mosul, Aleppo, Damascus, 3 different cities fighting with each other still. And a state of equilibrium happened, a state of coexistence. Coexistence meaning what? Oh, halas, it's okay, we live together. The Franks take this part, the Crusaders, we take this part, and we halas, coexist. But to show you how bad it was, I'll just pick one incident that happened with the city of Aleppo. The ruler, a man by the name of Ridwan, who was associated with the Ismailis and assassins, decided that the Crusaders are very powerful and he doesn't want trouble to fight with them. So what does he decide to do? He sends to them, let's have a peace treaty. Let's normalize, halas, you coexist. Let's have a treaty, a mutual treaty that I'm safe and we're friends, you don't attack me. And the response came from the Franks, okay, we have 3 conditions. Condition number 1, you pay a yearly tribute of 20,000 dinars to us. He said, okay. 2, all the trade, any trade that is happening within the city of Aleppo, there is a sale tax that comes to us. So now, every person doing any transaction in Aleppo, we have 10% comes to us. He agreed. The third one was amazing. It's just to humiliate the Muslims. He said, okay, your biggest masjid in Aleppo, here is a big cross, you go put it on top of the masjid. You think he agreed? He did agree. Yalla, so what? And he took the cross, went to the masjid, put it on top of the masjid. Those are the type of rulers that were living in the time. Now, who was upset? That upset who? Of course, all the people. I mean, this is, come on top of the masjid, you're going to put a cross to that extent, in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ridiculous, right? So people were very upset. A scholar that was living in the city, the judge of the city, a scholar by the name of Ibn Hashim. And now you can see this, the movement here. He was one that kept speaking about the Franks and this is not acceptable and started enticing people, we have to do something. When he saw this, he said this is completely unacceptable. So he went with the people, got the cross, broke it, and went to the ruler, Ridwan, asked for a meeting with him and he said, okay, you know what, this is not acceptable. And then he told him something. He said, you know what, I know we're weak. I know that only the city of Aleppo by itself cannot confront the Franks. So here's what I propose. I am going to go and start asking the Muslims around to help us, send armies, so that we can defend ourselves. But please, let me do them. What do you think the ruler did? What's your expectation? What did Ridwan do to this scholar that wants to do something? Did he kill him? What happened? Kill him? How many says he was killed for? How many say he was imprisoned? How many people say he was neglected? How many people say that Ridwan said, okay, go ahead and do it? That's what he did. What? Why? You know why? Because what is he thinking? Yeah, just go speak to people, nobody will come. I know people. Go ahead, you want this? Go ahead and speak. Go ahead, go to all those cities. I know the rule, nobody will respond to you. So instead of imprisoning this scholar, he said, go yeah, Bismillah, let me see what army you're going to bring. Ha ha ha, right here. And this scholar Ibn Khashab went, and he went to the city of Mosul. Because what happened, there was a ruler there, and it's not even the ruler, one of the lieutenants of the Sultan, by the name of Nuruddin, a young man, that was affected by the teachings of the scholars like Imam al-Ghazali, and he was an advocate, we have to do something. We have to fight the Franks. And he would take his army and raid the Franks, skirmish and things like that, not minor battles, right? And he was very adamant about having to do something. So Ibn Khashab went to him, explained what happened in Aleppo and the cross and what have you. And Mawdud was really upset, and he said, I'm bringing the army that is under me, the army of the city of Mosul. We unite. Our army and your army is good. And he agreed, gathered his army, and now the army of the city of Mosul is going now to Aleppo for what? That they're going to unite against the Franks. What do you think happened once Ibn Khashab and this Mawdud appeared by the city of Aleppo? What do you think the ruler did? Ridwan? Any expectation? You would think, like, would he be happy with this? No. So now his real face showed. He ordered the gates to be shut. Now he took Ibn Khashab, threw him in the prison, right? And called the Franks, called the Crusaders. We have a treaty, we have a common enemy. The Muslims, the people of Mosul, we have a treaty. Come help me against them. And they responded that we have an alliance, and Mawdud was like, I cannot fight the city, I cannot fight Muslims and the Franks together. So he said, okay, guess what? If I cannot do anything with Aleppo, maybe I can go to Damascus. Maybe I can convince the ruler there that we have an alliance. So he left and he went all the way to Damascus, you know, and the ruler of Damascus did something really interesting. He said, oh, of course, that's great. 2 cities, we fight the Franks, he opened the gates, and Mawdud went in with his army. And of course, we will unite, we will do something, we will like start the movement, right? And everything looks good. And alhamdulillah, people are happy, something is going to happen. Now we have 2 cities together, and it is Friday prayers. Mawdud goes to pray Salat al-Jum'ah, and as he enters the Masjid, one of the people in the front row, one of the Musallin, you know, a regular person that prays every day in the Masjid, one of those, right, stood up, went to him, and got a poisonous dagger and stabbed him. He killed him. Right. Who was that? An assassin. Mawdud was assassinated. When that happened, the Franks, the Crusaders, mocked the Muslims. They sent a letter to Damascus saying the following: أمة تقتل عميدها يوم عيدها في بيت معبودها كان حقا على الله أن يبيدها. A nation that kills the one that protects it in the house of its Lord on the day of their Eid, Jum'ah, Allah, their Lord surely should destroy them. See, like that's the message from the Crusaders to the Muslims, right? If you're going to do this as Muslims, your Lord will destroy you. This is shocking, right? Now, who killed Mawdud? Who do you think it was?
The assassin.
The assassins. Who hired them? So people said, we know who it is. This guy, right? But it won because he has the association with the Ismailis and the assassins, you know, and he was afraid from him. And now when you have unity between those 2 cities, they're going to attack us. He did this. In reality, you know who killed him? The ruler of Damascus. Politics. Because he saw it as a very great advantage. So, yeah, of course, come in. I'm the hero. I'm going to stand by you. Let's call the assassins. They kill Mawdud, and people blame who? Ali. Great move. That shows you the state of the Muslims of the time, right? Now, when that happened, the Sultan of Mosul, the news reached him that, you know, those Muslims that asked for help just killed Mawdud. He became so offended, right, that this happened. So upset. So he ordered, what? I am going to come myself. Got all his remaining armies. Got them all together. I'm going to go discipline those people, discipline those 2 cities. How can they do this to us? So he got his army, started marching, you know, to give them a lesson. And guess what he faced? He was shocked to see the following situation. He saw an army that's opposing him. Guess whose army that was? Can you guess? The united army of Aleppo, Damascus, and the Franks. They united together. Their common enemy is this guy. Huh? What? Do you see what's the real problem here? Traitors always exist. It's not only today. Those are the people that Nuruddin Zengi and Salahuddin will have to deal with. And people like Mawdud, the reason what Mawdud is not known, this young man that tried to do something, was he successful? By the world, he got killed. But he's a hero because he attempted to do something. Today, we will have many people like Mawdud. People that will attempt to stand up only to be stabbed in their back by some of the people living among us. But that's the road of the change. I call it the following. The road of change has frustrations in it. It's the Sunnah of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ, he came mercy to mankind. He actually brought good, even financially. When you look to Mecca today, he brought goodness in everything. Who resisted him the most? It wasn't the Romans, wasn't the Persians. His own people, his own uncle, Abu Lahab. So on the road to change, the Sunnah is that sometimes the common enemy is the one living with us. And if we are so frustrated to say, Wallahi, which is what happened. This is a very important lesson. When the Sultan saw this, what do you think he did? The Sultan of al-Mosul, he saw this situation. He couldn't fight 3 armies. So he left, went to al-Mosul, and he made an oath. I will never help those people again. What is the lesson here? Very important lesson. Spiritual lesson. Come to the Masjid, we see this often in the Middle East. A person becomes religious, decides to come to the Masjid, comes to pray. After Salah, he goes out, somebody stole my shoes. What does he decide to do? Is this what I get for helping the Muslims? I will never come to the Masjid again. Don't come. Did you come for Allah? Or did you come? It's the Sunnah of Allah. If you want to come to the Masjid, if you attempt to, guess what? You will have frustrations here. And that's a test. The test is what? Despite the frustration, will you continue? If I'm here for Allah's sake, subhanAllah, sometimes nowadays, this unfortunately exists. You come to the Masjid and it takes 1 or 2 brothers to yell at the sisters and they would never come back again. Literally. When I came to California, right, and my kids were little, right, they used to come and they bring them and they would run in the Masjid. And we had some board members that yelled at my kids, yelled at me. I saw some of my friends said, we're not going to go to this Masjid again. You know what I decided to do? What do you think I decided to do? This is the house of Allah. I'm coming, like it or not. And my kids are coming. The only one that can tell me not to come is the Shaykh. I'm not scared. Who are you? You're a member of the community. You have no authority to do this. You're not going to scare me away. This is the house of Allah. Because when I leave, such kind of people dominate. No. My kids are going to be there. And I come when you do not come, because they're board members. And I play soccer in the Masjid with them. And the Shaykh agreed. What are you going to do? Because the Shaykh is on my side, you see that? So I'm not going to be threatened. I'm not leaving the house of Allah. My kids need the house of Allah. So that's a sign of sidq. What does it take for us to leave the cause? One stab and we don't stop, we continue, right? So this is a very important principle. Do not do what the Sultan did this time, right? Anyway, what happens? Years pass, right? I'm going to move a little bit faster. Years pass. And eventually, the scholars are working on the background, right? But eventually, what happened is scholars are starting to speak, and scholars are, in both cities, and Ibn Khashab is very active, and he started speaking against who the Ismailis, and he started speaking about the assassins, and and guess what happens? One Friday khutbah, Ibn Khashab goes on the pulpit. What happens? Somebody comes, stabs him in front of him. And I want you to see what the assassin's method. Their crimes are done usually on Jum'ah in the midst of the Masjid. Why? Why don't they go at home where he's sleeping and stab him?
Because it's harder to know, since more people come on Friday, Jum'ah.
So why do they want more people to see the crime?
To share the message.
So, and please do not fall, we see this today. Terrorists, assassins, their weapon is what? Fear. So they want their crime to be what? talk, they want to spread it. They want maximum people to see it, so people fear them. If I stab someone at night, nobody, but in the middle of the masjid, everybody sees it. Everybody starts what? Speaking about it. And therefore, they spread fear. Media does this today. One terrorist, one foolish guy will do something, and CNN and Fox News, it's all over the world. And now they become important. And they really matter. So that was the method of the assassins. Friday, in the midst of the prayer, in front of everybody. That's when we assassinate. And therefore, people started to get really afraid. The other Imam of the time, Imam al-Harawi, the one that went to the Khalifa, if you remember, the Qadi of Jerusalem, right? On a Friday prayer, standing, speaking up, what happens? Same thing. Next year, Imam al-Harawi is assassinated by an assassin. So you can see here, I mean, the problems within the Muslims. I want us to notice two important things, because this is a debate we have today. There is two types of scholars that lived in this time, right? And I'm just summarizing. We have the likes of Ibn Khashab, this active scholar that goes on the pulpit, raises, we have to defend the Muslims, and he's very active, and he's very on the ground, and he goes and he does something, and he's dealing with today's problem, and he's very passionate, and he speaks with fiery speeches and motivates people, and we have to do something now. And then we have another type of scholar, the likes of Imam al-Ghazali. Imam al-Ghazali lived in the time of the Crusades. He saw what happened. But Imam al-Ghazali's method was not this method. What was his style? He saw something else. Here, we're treating the symptoms. Like today, you see what's happening in Palestine? Let's go have a demonstration. That's good. Let's raise money for them. Let's, those people like care and, But another people will say, no, see, why is this happening? Where are the Muslims? Why are the Muslims silent? Why do we have the ability to be defeated this way? This is not, I don't want to treat the symptoms. There is a root to this problem. Why aren't we capable? We're billions. Why are billions not able to do anything? There is a problem in us. And this problem is not lack of resources or power, it's something in our hearts. It's hubb al-dunya, the love of this world. And honestly, I'll tell you this. How many people here wants to help Palestine? Everybody, right? Are you serious? Yes. I'm not going to go tell you demonstrate to fight. Right? And just think about what I'm saying when you grow up. Right? If I'm serious, I should think the following way. Israel has a lot of financial support, right or wrong. Right. Our enemies, they are serious. Serious business, right? I want everybody here to think if you tell that to your parents. Baba, what's your income? I want 10% of your income every single month to be donated to Palestine. Till when? Forever. Here is another one. Instead of living in a good, nice house, downsize, live in an apartment, with the difference in price, donated to Palestine. How many of us are willing to do that? Your car, your house, my bank account. What do you feel? Will you do it? I'm not asking for one-time donation. See what I'm asking for? Lifestyle change. Who's willing to do that? Okay, too difficult. You want to do something for Palestine? Every night, because this is an open thing. Dua. 1 hour of your time, 1 hour. Stand, pray, and make dua for Palestine every night. I'm speaking about myself. What will myself do? Too much. If the ummah is like me, that's why we're speaking. But what is preventing me from standing and making dua for 1 hour? It's too much. I don't have the energy and power to do that. If I cannot make dua for 1 hour, you think I can fight? What do you think it's like? The people that do the change, they were people that were ready. They were ready to sacrifice, ready to give and benefit. I'm chained down by the attachment of this life. My lifestyle, my room, my car, my friends, my cell phone. Too many attachments. That is hurting me now. The Muslim Ummah is rich. Saudi, Egypt, Jordan. The zakah of the United States, the Muslims in the United States. You know zakah, 2.5% that we must pay? How much is it every year? $2 billion. That's just the zakah, 2.5%. The Christians, if you want to go to a church, how much do they charge you? 10%. Can the people in the United States donate 10%? You know what that means? $8 billion to $10 billion every year. What can we do with that? How much can we support in the media? We can have our media stations. We have $10 billion. We can have people. We can have technology. We can fund universities. 10 billion. That's like a nation. We do not helpless. You see what I'm saying? But we're not working together. We're too much. That's the problem. Imam al-Ghazali's method was what? This is what I need to work on. I need to work on people. I need to get rid of those diseases that are impeding change. Our affinity for defeat. Now his style is what? The solution is not going to come next year, 20 years. It's a long game. I start now. I start working on people. I start working on those inward dimensions. The next generation, inshallah, you'll have people that are not this way. Which type of scholars or styles do you think we need today? Ghazali? Anybody else?
I think you need both.
The answer is both. Both. Why not? Why? So, they existed together. We need somebody to be active to, because there is a situation today. They need to eat today. I need someone today to advocate. But also I need the other guy to keep his mind on the long game. He's not going to be in the demonstrations. He's going to like have a long-term game. He's going to start doing what? Education, the Masjid, the Quran. I need both. Without a long-term plan, we're going to be just treating symptoms again and again. Remember the Coca-Cola Muslim, right? Okay, we build Gaza. 10 years later, they bomb it again. And we gather donations and we build it again. And they bomb it again. Till when? There has to be a long-term game changer. Right? So we need both together. Right? This is very important. You know what's not accepted? You can be of this group, that's fine. You can be of this group, that's fine. What is not accepted? I'm in neither. I sit back and watch. That's the problem. If you cannot do something active and you cannot go to demonstrations, fine. Can you help in any way? Because we need everybody. But sitting and doing nothing, that's the problem. Right? So this is a very important message, inshallah. And again, I'm not going to, I'm going to mention it quickly. So what Imam al-Ghazali did is he did something really interesting. So he was on top of, the highest, the Harvard of the time, the Nizamiya School of Fiqh. He did something really interesting. He saw that the disease is not, when we fall sick, where do we go? We go to a hospital, right? What if there are no doctors? What if the doctors are sick? Where do we go? The solution is we have to have doctors. So he saw the following: when the Ummah is sick, the scholars are the solution. And his analysis of in his time was, the scholars of my time are sick. They preach something, but I can tell you about tawakkul and sadaqah and charity. I'm saying that. But am I living that? Answer is no. So Imam al-Ghazali's focus was what? We need to generate and teach a new generation of scholars, doctors, that are in touch with reality. In touch with, the scholarly work of Tazkiyat al-Nafs, but also the reality we're living in. So that they can translate the work of the Prophet ﷺ in a way that treats the hearts of today's problems. And as such, he left his position. Spent years by himself, worked on himself, transformed himself, came back with a book called The Revival of Religious Science, which is a landmark. Right? And based on that, his teachings and his method, a myriad of scholars came. One of the most influential one was Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. Very much influenced by Imam al-Ghazali. He was living in Baghdad, and Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, when he started, by the way, his first 50 years of his life, he did not teach. What do you think he was doing for 50 years?
Study.
So studying, what does studying mean?
Learn.
Going, sitting by scholars, reading books, right? Now, Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, because this is against a problem we have today, where Islamic knowledge is, I want to teach you Islam, what does that mean? Teaching like this. Sitting here, I'm speaking, you're writing down, then there's an exam. Sheikh Abdul Qadir, this is not the way. Yeah, we sit and teach, but what is he doing the rest of his time? What Imam al-Ghazali did. How can I teach you about dhikr if we do not do dhikr together? Where is the lab? I'm an engineer. If you're studying to be a doctor, you think it's going to be, you're going to sit on a chair and the teacher is going to explain and then you go do an operation? What's missing? The lab, yeah. Where is the lab? Where is let's practice? Enough. We studied certain ahadith, now it's time to go out, find some people and go help. It's time to go to your mom, kiss her hand, and where is this lab? That's what we're missing. Sheikh Abdul Qadir, 50 years, was not just studying. He worked on himself. The same way Imam al-Ghazali did. That he is transformed, his akhlaq is different. So at the age of 50, when he spoke, and he started in Baghdad with 2-3 people attending. Years later, it was what? 50,000 people. People would go the night before. You know how when they have one of those, I hate to say it, festivals or whatever, and people go spend the night so that at the first one in, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, that's people used to come the night before, reserve a spot. Sheikh Abdul Qadir speaking tomorrow. What Sheikh Abdul Qadir did, Imam al-Ghazali spoke to scholars, a small group of scholars. Now Sheikh Abdul Qadir took this and he decided to do what? Speak to the public in a way they understand. And that impacted people so much. Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, he says, on my hand, more than 100,000 robbers and bandits and gangsters repented on my hands. More than 60,000 people converted to Islam in his time. Jews and Christians because of him. Now Sheikh Abdul Qadir, because of the way he spoke, because of his sincerity, he was so revered, so powerful. To the extent, if I show you some of his speeches, this man, when he stands, everybody's like this. And he speaks, and Allah gave him something reported unanimously. He had the ability to see your thoughts and what you're thinking of. Can you imagine? So many people narrated this. He said, one person said, I want to check, wanted to go to check him out. So I went to his majlis and sat in the back, and somebody started reading something, and I said, oh, what is this? This is wrong, this is haram, this is that. And Sheikh Abdul Qadir posted and said, somebody that read a chapter of two al-fiqh comes attend here with us and says that what I'm doing is wrong and haram. And the man said, maybe he means someone else. He's thinking. Sheikh Abdul Qadir looked at him and said, it is you that I mean. And the man said, may Allah forgive me. And Sheikh Abdul Qadir, may Allah forgive you and accept your repentance. So, and again, he had such power in his time. One time, the Khalifa, of Baghdad, right? He assigned a minister that was a tyrant, basically. Sheikh Abdul Qadir started his khutbah on Friday, the Khalifa is there. And he's starting, and then at the end of the khutbah, he looked to the Khalifa and he said one sentence. وَلَّيْتَ عَلَى النَّاسِ أَفْضَلُ مِنْ الْمَطْلُوبِينَ مَا جَوَابَكَ غَدًا عِنْدَ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. You assigned on top of us an oppressor, your minister. What are you going to say to your Lord tomorrow when you meet him? I say it, there is no. When he said that, the Khalifa went and he changed. He changed it. So Sheikh Abdul Qadir started this movement. And again, other scholars like Imam Ahmad al-Rifa'i, al-Hafiz ibn Asakir, the greatest hadith scholar that was present at the time. As you will see, that will become the teacher of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. A revival was happening. But the scholars of the time addressed the problems of their time. They did not just get old books. No. They made their teaching relevant. They addressed the outward and the inward together. It wasn't just let's study fiqh and aqidah and go home. Your akhlaq is, and Sheikh Abdul Qadir says this, actually in a very interesting way. He says, and look at how he speaks. Oh, my son, he's an 8 years old sheikh. My son, ما لي أراك في طول سهر وتعب وقيام وركوع وقلبك لا يبرح من مكانه ولا يتحول عن عادته ولا يخرج من بيت وجوده اصدق في طلب مولاك وقد كفاك. My son, why do I see you standing up in prayers, going, a lot of activism, a lot of this, a lot of that, a lot of prayers and dhikr, while your heart has not changed. You did not quit any of your habits. You're the same impatient person, angry person. Your traits did not change. Your heart did not go out of the house of its own existence. You're self-centered. And he did not leave any of its bad habits. You're still impatient. You go home, yell at your wife. What is this? And then he says, Usduq, be truthful with Allah. And it will suffice you a lot of agony. And he goes on. So he spoke in a very interesting, powerful way. And again, the books of Sheikh Abdul Qadir, you can read them today. They're available for us. Anyway, oh, by the way, I just sorry, I forgot, like, this Sheikh Hadi ibn Musafir, this Sheikh is not well known. Right? As a matter of fact, you won't find any of his teaching. But why am I putting him here? Sheikh Abdul Qadir decided to speak where? In Baghdad, the capital. Adi ibn Musafir did something really interesting. Adi ibn Musafir didn't do that. Adi ibn Musafir left Baghdad and he went into the wild. He went into an area of mountains by the name, the mountains of Hikar. The Kurds were living there. Those mountains were, you know, downtown Los Angeles, you know, the gang-infested areas. This is the gang, it's not safe. This was the same way. This is an area of what gangs? Completely unsafe. And he went there and he lived there. 10 years later, the entire area changed. Everybody repented, the area became so safe. Those Kurds was so affected by him and his teachings. Later on, those were the main Kurds and the soldiers of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. As a matter of fact, you will see the leaders of Salahuddin having the name al-Hikari. Al-Faqih Isa al-Hikari, Saif al-Din al-Mashtub al-Hikari. Where did they come from? They came from Hikar. That is their shape. I would say that Salahuddin's family was one of those people. Salahuddin is Kurdish. His father, his grandfather, that's where they came from. This is the person responsible for them. Why am I saying this? Scholarship is not only in the Masjid and YouTube and become a celebrity sheikh. Where are the scholars that are in downtown LA? Where are the scholars that are going, getting the youth that are really drowning? You might look at them and say, they're gangsters. Those gangsters were the generation of Salahuddin. But we have to look at them. I hope you get what I'm saying. So sometimes the work of scholars is not in nice settings like this. It's on the ground in difficult areas. And to transform people, it's not just fiery speeches. It's a way of living that those scholars embody, right? So this is like just a little bit long synopsis of how the scholars, right? Back to the event lines, right? So we said, remember what happened with the assassins, and we said the Mawdud got killed, right? Years later, something happened. Aleppo, remember we said that Ridwan was there, Ridwan dies. Right? When that happened, the Ismailis that are now very much in there, they tried to grab the city, the control of that city. When that happened, the scholars of the time did what? They went and said, this cannot happen, right? So they went and they sought again help from another man. Names are not important, his name is al-Bursuqi. It was like Mawdud. Again, one person that's trying to do something and fight and what have you, right? And he said, please come. If you don't come, the Ismailis are already talking to the Franks and they might take our city. What ended up happening, I'll just make it short, what ended up happening, al-Bursuqi came, right? And indeed, he found the army of the Franks coming, surrounding Aleppo, and he came with his army, to just rescue the city. And the Franks backed up, but he chose to go into the city and take control of the city, right? By the help of the scholars. That was the moment where both cities got united. So al-Bursuqi, which is this again follower of Mawdud, right, successfully takes control of the city of Aleppo. And he promised next year, we now have two armies, we're going to go fight. What do you think happened to al-Bursuqi? one night, he says a dream, sleeping, and his dream, he said, I saw 5 dogs. And they jumped him. I killed 2 of them, but the other 3 ripped me up. And people said, yeah, Sayyidi, please, don't go today to the Fajr Salah, please, something will happen. And he said, how can you say that? And he opened the Quran, and he said, look, he found an ayah, وَكَانَ أَمْرُ اللَّهِ قَدَرًا مَقْدُورًا. It's the order of Allah that I go. I have to go to Salah, Fajr. See, those are the people that do change, going to Fajr in Jama'ah. Not going to Fajr in Jama'ah, I'm speaking about change, it's like, come on, really, I cannot overpower my sleep, yeah. So and this again, it tells me about me. I'm a culprit too, right? So he decides, I'm going to go to the Masjid despite this. Indeed, he goes to the Masjid, 5 assassins jump on him. He gets his sword, kills 2, but the other 3 kill the sword. Right? And again, you can see this assassin thing is really becoming a problem with Muslims. This is now, and again, do you see the frustration? Every time somebody comes, tries to do something, here's what happens. But when that happened, something unexpected happened, right? Which was what? This is now the change. The next generation. The man under al-Bursuqi, a young man, very good soldier, that was accompanied al-Bursuqi and in many campaigns. A formidable soldier, loved by all the soldiers, a statesman, a man by the name of Imaduddin Zengi. He came to power. Imaduddin Zengi is going to be the change that we're going to see, inshallah. Right? So when Imaduddin Zengi came to power, he was a little bit different. He had a philosophy. And I'm just going to summarize his role here. He came, and for the first time, there is 2 cities united, Mosul and al-Ayyubi. Right? So he saw that the problem with the Muslims has to be solved in a very interesting way. He said, number 1, the problem with the Muslims, they're not united. We cannot fight the Franks when we are divided like this. So his first purpose was what? I need to unite the Muslims. All those traitors around, we need to do what? We need to just remove them and make the Muslim one big nation. We need to unite Damascus, Aleppo, the entire area, so I have the whole thing, then I can fight. But how are you going to do that? And his method was by force. Those traitors, we should fight them, right? So his method is, I'm going to use the sword to go fight those traitors and unite the Muslims. This is 1. 2, justice is very important, including with my soldiers. All my soldiers must be just. So the soldiers should be disciplined, not mercenaries. You have a salary, he gave them states, he knows anybody of his soldiers got killed, his family I'll take care of, but in return, you would not transgress against anybody. And he would say something, again this was his style, which was not very pretty. He used what? Force. If I hear one soldier oppressing a person, he said, I'll crucify you myself. Now, that's not a Shari'i punishment, right? But he used what? Force. Punitive, right? And I know some people says, yeah, this was what the Muslims need nowadays. And Ahmad was this is the only way to discipline those soldiers. Woe unto you. And they feared him. So his soldiers become what? Disciplined. For the first time now we have an army loyal to Ahmad, disciplined. They do not just go, they're not mercenaries. Before it was like, okay, soldiers go do whatever, right? So that was his second thing. Now, his method, again, he was very soldier-like. So his ideas was good, but what was his problem? This harshness. So unity is good, right? Uniting Muslims is really, it's a very good cause, right? To try to reform the soldiers is good, but using excessive punishments was the part that many scholars actually, they would praise him for some things, and they would take this as this is not a good trait, right? But that was his style. He intended good, right? And Imaduddin Zengi started following his plan. So his plan is what? Unite the Muslims. And then he started doing what? He started to expand. He started to get more territories, more cities, Now he has a bigger army, bigger group, bigger, finances. The biggest city that was not with him was Damascus. The ruler of Damascus realized this is a very big threat. What do you think he decided to do? So technically you should, why don't you join forces? But he decides what? No, this is a danger. He will take my seat. He's dangerous. So he decides to go to the Franks and form an alliance with them. He gave them cities, like Banyas, take those cities, take Muslim cities. Take them. In return, if somebody attacks me, you come and help me. We have a joint treaty. Look at how blatant so today when you see stuff, don't be it happened before. It happened before. When we see some rulers going and doing certain things, we saw it's not new, right? Right. So this is what the ruler of Damascus does. What do you think Ahmed ad-Din did? He gathered his army and he said that's a traitor, and he marched and he started laying siege against Damascus. Damascus is a powerful city. He called the Franks came, and the siege expanded. And now Muslims fighting Muslims, this is a fitna, right? And eventually what happens? He could not take the city of Damascus. It's formidable, it's powerful, he could not, right? Because of that traitor. But then Ahmed ad-Din Zengi decided to do something really surprising. He said, okay, I cannot take the city. But now the Franks, they see that I'm busy with the Muslims. Maybe it's time for us, I have enough forces. Maybe it's time for me to do what? Attack the Franks. And not in a skirmish or a battle. Maybe I can take one of their cities. Really take something back. Which city should I attack?
I would think they will attack the east side.
Why?
Because it's the closest to them.
So you can see, can he attack Jerusalem?
No.
Why not?
Damascus.
So first of all, Damascus, what else? What do you think all this is their capital? Everybody's going to go, but there's another reason also. What happens if you take Jerusalem?
Surrounded.
Not only everybody's going to attack you, what do you think will happen in Europe?
Another crusade.
And that's another crusade coming to your way, right? The United States of Europe is going to intervene, right? And he's not ready for that. Yeah, that's what it was at the time. So he realizes I'm not facing the Franks here alone, I'm facing another entity just behind them, right? So he looks at this, the city of Edessa, and look at how it is. It's between his two cities. You see that? It's a protrusion. It's the weakest among them. That was his plan. So while this campaign was happening and the ruler of Edessa went out hunting, he charged against the city of Edessa. He gathered his army, right? And surprise attack against the city of Edessa, right? And he did a very interesting thing here, right? When he attacked the city of Edessa, he had an engineering brigade, right? Which did something really, so they would go and they would cover themselves, with shields and what have you. And then they would go all the way till the walls of the city, and they would start digging. What do you think they're doing? Tunnel? No, it's not a tunnel. Trenches, they want. So it says something like trench, but he has something.
Get inside the city.
No. It's a very interesting technique. See, innovation is important. It's not just tawakkul. No, we have to take the means. Have to think. Have to come with new ways.
Destabilize the walls.
Is what?
Destabilize the walls.
Yeah. So he digs, goes under the foundation of the walls, and then they would put wooden planks. Right? So now the wall of the city, right, is resting on those wooden planks, right? Then he would burn. What happens? The walls will fall. And then you have a gap. That's exactly what he did. So this engineering brigade went in, digged, put the wood, set it to fire, and all of a sudden what happens? It's like a big gap. The wall just fell, and you can see inside the city. And the Muslims rushed inside the city of Edessa. They took control of the city. He orders spare people, don't massacre people there, right? It's peaceful, right? Because the soldiers were about like, let's revenge, right? And he says, no, stop, right? Take the city, and for the first time, one of the Muslim rulers finally succeeds in taking one of the city of the Franks. Yeah, it's a small one, but you know what happened? I don't think Ahmed ad-Din even understood the psychological impact. The news of the fall of the city of Edessa went everywhere. Muslims, for the first time in decades, they saw what? Hope. We can do something. that motivated Muslims. Imad al-Din became what? A hero. Everybody, oh, Imad al-Din, the Franks can be defeated. We took one of the cities. Maybe that's a sign, right? And now Imad al-Din, what? His station and his status among the Muslims is rising. And people start to join and hope. So Imad al-Din gave Muslims hope. And people started uniting with Imad al-Din. Now, before I can continue, like I'll just show you something. Whenever you go to Europe, you find this, they have a castle, and usually what's around the castle? Why do you think they have, beside of course that it makes it more difficult to go, what's the other purpose? Can you do this idea? So that was the counter that Europe learned from the, okay, you build a wall, just go and make a trench, put some water in it, nobody can do this technique anymore, right? So that's something, just an interesting thing to discuss. Right. So again, Imad al-Din, when the city of Edessa fell, something happened. The news of the fall of the city of Edessa, Muslims were happy, but this news reached where? Who else heard about it? You. What do you think the Pope did? So the Pope announces, we have to support Israel, and we have to support the Franks. Right? So he orders all the kings to do what? Gather your forces, it's another crusade. And the kings of Europe gathered, and another crusade is heading towards Imad al-Din. Right? This is what we call the counterattack. Now, while this is happening, Imad al-Din starts to do what? He starts expanding. He starts going and taking more cities. Now he goes and lays siege to a city, it's like a fort, and they start threatening him. If you do not leave, you will see what will happen. And that night, Imad al-Din Zengi is sleeping. What happens? His servant stabs him and kills him. Now people differ. Who's that? Why did he do it? Some people say, Imad al-Din was aggressive. He beat that servant and the servant was upset, so he did that. Some people know that servant was a Christian, so he was upset and he did that. We don't know. But some people say no, it's actually an assassin because those people in the fort threatened him. And we know that after he did that, he went to them. Truth, we don't know. I don't know the reason, but it sounds like a plot, an assassin. Right? That this man is one of them, and he was paid to get rid of Imad al-Din Zengi. And you can see the problem. Every time, you can see the pattern. Somebody does something, what happens? The stab comes from behind. This is the route to change. Expect it. Right? I mean, don't get frustrated. This is how it happens. Like, this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, right? His own people are the one against it. It wasn't the Romans or the Persians, right? It was Mecca and Ta'if, and this is what he had to struggle with. And the people we're trying to save are the people that are fighting us. In a masjid, if you ever think. The people you're trying to serve might be the people that attack me at the end of the day. Right? This is the prophetic sunnah of change. Right? When that happened, I'm going to skip the game theory part. When that happened, Muslims were very frustrated. Why? When that happened, and Imad al-Din was stabbed, the Franks took the opportunity and they attacked, and the city of Edessa, again, some of the Christians there, co-conspired, and they opened the gates, and the Franks took the city of Edessa back again. So, and the Muslims were, okay, here we go again. Whatever we gained, we just lost. And you can imagine the frustration of people living at the time, right? But what happened was something completely unexpected. Now you will see the tide of change. Now you see the work of scholars. Now we're speaking about the year 544 Hijri, 50 years after the Crusaders came, something in that order. The son of Imad al-Din Zengi, his son, Nuruddin Zengi. This is the man that was responsible for the Salahuddin himself. This is the one that led the attack against the Franks. He is the one, he's actually more important than Salahuddin himself, as you see. The son of Imad al-Din Zengi, Nuruddin. And the way he appeared was shocking. When the city of Edessa fell, and everybody was like, oh my God, what will happen? The son of Imaduddin, Nuruddin Zengi, right? He gathers whatever soldiers he has. Because, you know, the city of Edessa now is going to, like, you know, fall. And so he gathered all the knights around him. And he ordered them, everybody get 2 mounts. We are going to ride during the night, till the morning, right? And we switch, you switch horses. If the horse gets tired, switch the other horse, right? And he reached the city of Edessa about Fajr time, when they were doing what? The Franks, partying and drinking and, you know, having fun. He took them by surprise, attacked the city, took the city back from them. And he didn't stop there. Next day, he went out and he started attacking the different forts around the city. And he started taking one after the other. So the introduction of Nuruddin Zengi was, the Muslims were, who's this? The man that he was, the message was what? Don't think that by the death of Imaduddin, the Muslims are weak. And he did it on the spot. And he started attacking, and people was like, who's this? This is Nuruddin Zengi, the son of the son of Imaduddin, right? But something else happened. Now he takes power and he's starting to like unite the Muslims. Guess what happened? Remember we said the crusade is coming? The crusade arrives. And Nuruddin Zengi is like, okay, now I'm fighting what? Europe. And then here is what happens. The Franks arrive, the other crusade. Their basic, where do you think they're going to attack? What's their target? Edessa, right? But something actually very peculiar happened. And like, you know, he's surrounded. You have the Franks, you have Damascus, which is aligned to alliance. Can you imagine what will happen to him? He's really worried. But something really interesting happened. Now those are the kings of Europe. They land and they say, Edessa is such a small city. It's not worth. We come from Europe, we spend so much. Edessa is just a tiny thing. It's not good enough for us. The kings of Europe need to make this worthwhile. What is the biggest city in Sham?
Aleppo.
Baghdad is foreign, right?
Aleppo. Damascus.
You would think they would say Aleppo, right? But they decide, no. Damascus is the biggest city. Oh, wait a minute. He's our ally. That's our buddy, right? And guess what they decide to do? He's nobody anymore. And you don't keep your word with infidels. Everybody unite, including the kingdom of Jerusalem, his buddy. And they decide to do what? Attack Damascus. When they started attacking Damascus, what do you think the ruler of Damascus did? He's in trouble. He had another alternative. Ask him from who?
Fatimids.
He sent to Nuruddin Zengi. This is the man that, you know, he fought his dad. This is the man that betrayed the Muslims. He sent to Nuruddin Zengi telling him, what? I need your help. If you were Nuruddin Zengi, what would you do? You deserve it after what you did to my father. Take it, right? Nuruddin Zengi wasn't thinking this way. This is not about a personal agenda. He's a traitor. But Damascus is a Muslim city. I cannot let Damascus fall on the hands of the Franks. Though this is a traitor, though he did what he did with my father, that's on the side. The Muslims need money. This is for the sake of Allah, not for my personal agenda. Right? And this tells you now you can see Nuruddin in another light, right? So he responds, indeed, I'm coming with my entire army. And he calls everybody, right? And he marches and starts surrounding the Franks around the city of Damascus. And he starts, you know, like ambushes, attacks by the day and the night, harassing them, giving them a hard time. So the city of Damascus is well fortified. But every time they attack, Nuruddin Zengi attacks them. And he prolongs it. Cuts the supply lines, ambushes them. A war of attrition, if you will. And he kept at it. And then, what is the end of this? What do you think happened? Something really interesting. The ruler of Damascus did one of his political moves. He sent 2 letters. One to the ruler of, Jerusalem, his friend. And he told him, what are you doing? You've invited the kings of Europe. If they take Damascus, what do you think will happen to you in Jerusalem? You think they're going to leave you? You're going to be next. They're going to remove you. Why did you do that? We had a system. Right? So, we were okay. So here's what I suggest. Just take some money and leave. And then he went to the newcomers from Europe. And he said, what are you doing? You see this man over there pointing to Nuruddin? This is the Sultan of the Muslims. And if you don't leave, I will give him Damascus. Would you like him to have Aleppo and Mosul and Damascus? Bad idea, right? So what do you suggest? I'll give you some money, and there are some other cities you can attack. You see what he's referring to, right? And the Franks said, not a bad idea at all. Right? We take the money, and yeah, maybe Damascus is too difficult because of Nuruddin, but now he's our friend, and maybe we can march and attack the city of Aleppo. What do you call this? What kind of technique? But you see what's going on, right? He's betraying the one that's helping him, right? And indeed, they try to do that, right? And they march towards the city of Aleppo. Nuruddin Zengi meets them on the way. A big battle happens, and Nuruddin Zengi is victorious. And he defeats this crusade. The Muslims were shocked. Why? Remember the first crusade? When it came, they just took cities. What happened? Well, look at the difference. Do you mean the crusade got defeated? Yes. The soldiers that were fighting with Nuruddin Zengi are not the soldiers that were fighting before. Nuruddin Zengi and his men are different caliber. This is not Nuruddin Zengi by himself. The men around him, Sheikh Adi ibn Musafir, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, this is the generation raised by them. Now we see them in action. Now you see the difference. That the Muslims discovered they were not weak. We can defeat a European crusade. We can fight and we can win. We have technology, we have each other. This idea of psychological defeat, we can't do anything, this is why we lose. Right? Anyway, again, Nuruddin Zengi, yearly after that, he starts attacking the Franks left and right. And I'm not going to go to the battles, there is many battles. Yearly, he would attack the Franks, defeat them, and he was a thorn on their side. And people can clearly see that this man is a continuation of the efforts of Ahmad-ad-Din. However, he had a major difference. Now, if we speak a little bit about Nuruddin Zengi, the son of Ahmad-ad-Din, but he's not like him. What's the difference? Ahmad-ad-Din, soldier, the sword, power, justice, right? Being punitive, unite by force. Nuruddin Zengi was a scholar. Ahmad-ad-Din was a soldier, but he sent his son to those schools. Now that son of his was a scholar really with ijazah. He was a scholar of a Hanafi fiqh. He wrote books of hadith himself. He loved the scholars of his times. His best teacher was the greatest hadith scholar of the time, al-Hafiz ibn Asakir. He built a school for al-Hafiz ibn Asakir to revive the Sunnah. The first hadith school in the area. One of the biggest schools that he built, right? And he loved scholars and he was very scholarly. So his method was the following. He differed with his father. Unity is necessary. But unity is not by force. Unity is we need to unite the Muslims by uniting their hearts. I win Muslims not by forcing, by winning their hearts. And we'll see how. Right? I'm not going to attack the city of Damascus with the sword. I'll take it without a drop of blood by winning the hearts of people. So he has this method, right? 2, the love of scholars. So the Ahmad-ad-Din, the people around him are what? The commanders, the lieutenants, and right? Nuruddin Zengi, you come, who's around him? Set turbans. Al-Hafiz ibn Asakir himself. Scholars. And of course the soldiers. And one time, one of his commanders got jealous of one of those scholars. So he wanted to backbite. So he went to Nuruddin Zengi and started saying, what is this man, he's this and he's that and he does nothing and we're the ones fighting and this man is this and this man is that. You know how it is, backbiting. Nuruddin Zengi kept silent and hearing this man. When he was done, Nuruddin Zengi told him the following. He said, all this, that even call him all this. The man you're speaking about has 2 good traits. That is ilm, knowledge, and deen. Akhlaq and deen. And that man, with those 2 good qualities, even if everything you said about him is true, shouldn't I be patient over him for those 2 qualities? As for you and your friends, you neither have ilm, no knowledge, no deen. And I am patient over you. By God, if you ever backbite someone in my presence, I will discipline you myself. No backbiting. Backbiting is haram. Do not ever do this. So Nuruddin Zengi was very big in what? Sharia. We have to rule by Sharia. No excessive punishments. This crucifying people, it's not our way. So he started to reform. Yeah, I want to unite Muslims, but how? According to the laws of Allah. So his message was very clear. One ummah under one law. And he started saying what? Anything that's against the Sharia law should be completely abolished. He did something you will be shocked. He's the first one to decide what? My soldiers, the army, wine is prohibited. What? The Muslims, the Muslims used to drink. And the Muslims, when they defeated the Franks, they used to celebrate by doing what? Drinking. And Nuruddin is like, what are you doing? You can't, it's haram. You know, no vulgar dancing, no drinking, prohibited. Shut all the wine, all the pubs and stuff, and haram. No, not allowed. Spread schools. Now he started what? Schools. Learning. Right? And he, even like, just to tell you about him, his salary, this is the president. He said, what is the lowest income in my kingdom? What is the minimum wage in California? 20? 17? 18? Trump should be taking 15. That's what he did. The lowest salary in my kingdom, that's what I get. Right? That's how just he was. He was very just. Right? Lived it. One time a scholar came, right, and started saying poetry to Nuruddin Zengi. And in the poetry, he started speaking about Allah and his rights, and then all of a sudden, with poetry, he started attacking Nuruddin himself. You claim to be defending the Sunnah and following Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. How? There are taxes left and right in your kingdom, and it's haram. Goose. What's the tax rate in California? Excuse me, why? Are you my partner or what? What's the Islamic ruling regarding that? Why are you taking 30% of me? Well, we need the money. There is zakah and sadaqah. Taxes like that, haram. I'm sorry, it's not the Islamic system. But we need the money. Can you imagine if the president comes and says, rule number 1, 0% taxes? How will people react? So that scholar admonished Nuruddin, telling him about the ahadith. لا يدخل الجنة مكاس. Very powerful hadith about what the Prophet ﷺ said, that this is a very serious matter and you are collecting taxes. It was from his father's time. How? And Nuruddin Zengi broke in tears. And he said, I ask all the Muslims to forgive me, and immediately on the spot, bring the writer, letters to all the governors in every single city. Tell them that Nuruddin Zengi is asking the forgiveness of every single one of you. And telling you that all the money he collected from you, he used it to fight the Franks. And from now on, 0% taxes. That is Nuruddin Zengi. Right? Nuruddin Zengi is a scholar, a man of God, very righteous, very conscious, very abiding by Sharia. When he said we're going to apply Sharia law, you know who complained? Who do you think complained? The people? When I say Sharia law today, what comes to your head? Yeah, when I say the word Sharia law, oh my God, hands are going to be flying, heads rolling, right? It's going to be very dark and very harsh, right? When he said Sharia law, you know who complained? The police complained. Why? They said if you implement Sharia law, we can't do anything to anyone. We can punish most of those people we're arresting, because Sharia law is very lenient. It is too lenient, we cannot punish, and those robbers that they steal from people and we don't have evidence against them, we'll have to let them go. It doesn't work. And they went and asked the scholar to tell him, and please tell Nuruddin Zengi to free our hand a little bit, because Sharia law is very, we can't punish anybody. It is so forgiving. Just give us some power. And Nuruddin Zengi responds in a very interesting way. He says, listen, Allah and His Messenger know best. Anybody saying that Sharia is not complete is saying that the rules of Allah are not complete. And he's putting himself in a position to legislate above Allah. Whatever Allah and His Messenger said is the right way. We stick with it. And I ask Allah to forgive me and you and guide me. That is Nuruddin Zengi. So he started now a foundation of a kingdom, I won't say a kingdom, of a state that is based not only its justice, rahmah, sharia, ilm, unity, right? Scholars loved Nuruddin. He started what? Communicating with scholars everywhere, including in Egypt with the Ismailis, right? Yeah, so I'm going to stop here, inshallah. Stop for a break. What's the time, Mike? 12 minutes. So let's have a 10. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala afdal al-mursalin, sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi al-tayyibin al-tahirin. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبعد. So again, we saw how Nuruddin came to power, and again, when you think about Nuruddin, where did he come from? It's those schools, it's those scholars, right? And you can see the gradual. We had Mawdud, Ursuki, Ahmed. It takes time. It's gradual, right? We're speaking here like 50 years. You know, 50 years is a long time. This is how long it took to Nuruddin Zengi to come, right? Efforts of 50 years, right? We spoke about Nuruddin Zengi, and one of the biggest, in a very simple way, Nuruddin Zengi's message was very simple. This is not a Palestinian problem. This is not a Kurdish problem or an Arab problem. This is a problem with La ilaha illallah Muslims versus the fence. This has to do with what? Jerusalem. And today this is also extremely important to understand. Why are we upset? Is it just a social justice problem? Because we're upset because they're so barbarians, they're killing people. So if they stopped killing and they were more, if they said, khalas, we're sorry, people in Gaza, you can live and we can live, and let's remove all the tyranny, is the problem done? Is that the problem? You see, what's the problem? Is a two-state solution acceptable to us? So Nuruddin was very clear. This is a La ilaha illallah. And as such, this is not my problem, or the Palestinian, or the Sham, or Egypt. Any Muslim, including people from Morocco, anybody can come. We're all equal. We're all under, so one flag, one cause, and one Sharia. This was a very simplistic message. And he embodied it. So the concept, and he was known for his justice, known for his zuhd, like he's not interested in money, his charity, right? So he was loved by people. Unlike his dad was what? By force. Nuruddin, all the scholars loved him, and all the people saw him as very righteous. This man used to wake up 1/3 of the night, sleep 1/6, so basically 2/3 of the night he's doing prayer every night. That's Nuruddin Zengi. Nuruddin Zengi, every Monday and Thursday he's fasting. Nuruddin Zengi built a high court. What's a high court? If you have anything against one of my rulers, on Monday, on Thursday, I sit there, anybody can access me, complain against anybody you want. So he was very accessible, very righteous. So people really loved, the word loved Nuruddin Zengi, right? His courage, his sacrifices was admired by so many people. So he really won the people's heart, right? Through following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As a matter of fact, he was so interested in following the Prophet that one time he was sitting, and again, Hafiz ibn Asakir, and they narrated a narration, a hadith. And in the hadith it says, وَتَوَشَّحَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ السَّيْفِ. When you wear the sword, by the way, like when you have a sword, like there is a belt. How do you put the belt? Where? On the waist, right? There's another way, which is what? The back, this is European, right? Like this, right? But it's like this. You wear the belt like diagonally, and you put the sword here. So you can either wear the belt this way or on the waist. So this was describing how the Prophet ﷺ wore the belt. And Nuruddin Zengi noticed, he did this. Which means what? We're not doing this. Say next morning, he walks in, all the commanders, they shifted. All of them are wearing the sword the way the Prophet ﷺ wore. So he was really, really into following Muhammad ﷺ in every single thing he did. Many stories, wonderful stories about Nuruddin Zengi, but I'll leave them for later, inshallah. And again, this is the scholars, right? And I mentioned specifically Hafiz ibn Asakir. This is the direct teacher of Nuruddin Zengi, the hadith scholar. And then we have Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, right? And many others, as you can see. And this is again the time frame. This is Nizam al-Mulk, where the Umayyad school is established, right? This is now Nuruddin Zengi, 521. And then you can see Nuruddin Zengi was speaking now in this time, about 550. Salahuddin comes later, right, after Nuruddin. And so now we're speaking in what? We passed phase 2, we're into phase 3. Right? This is the final part of today. This is just an interesting thing. If you go to Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, the time that the Crusade came and Nuruddin Zengi was fighting them, the year 544, 545, we have a book called Fath al-Rabbani by Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. This book is what the teachings of Sheikh Abdul Qadir in Baghdad in this year. And here what I did is what the topics. What is he teaching? And I want you to notice anything here about the Crusades. The students of Sheikh Abdul Qadir are the ones fighting with Nuruddin and Salahuddin. What does that mean? What is going on here? And I want you to understand this. It's very important. Sheikh Abdul Qadir, this is what people need to do to have the steadfastness, to be able to sacrifice. He saw the problem. So what is he teaching? Look, notice the topic. Not objecting on God's decree. Poverty of the heart. Not wishing to be rich. Repentance. Not showing off. Patience, patience, patience. Tawheed. Truthfulness. Knowing Allah. Preferring others over oneself. You see the teaching? See what he's teaching? And by the way, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, if you want to, let's say you want to go study with Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. Right? He has his school. The school is not funded by the state. It's funded by people. There's a waqf, and he has a school. You go there, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, you will stay 1 year with him. But it's not classes. You stay with him, meaning what? We live together. So I'm going to see the way you eat, the way you talk. And I assign things to you. You need to go be the janitor. Why? I see arrogance here. So we need to treat that. So you go serve everybody. Right? He will serve people himself. So he transformed people, not just theoretical knowledge. People would change when they go with him. Right? So again, this is what's happening in the scholarly realm. One event happened, and maybe we'll stop here today. Notice Egypt. The Franks now realize Nuruddin Zengi is very powerful, very strong. What about Egypt? You can see for the past 40 years, where are the Ismailis? Out of the picture, very weak. Actually, they had a peace treaty with the Crusaders, and you'll see that later. And they started trading, and they had a peace to leave us alone, we leave you alone. Khalas, mind our own business. And Egypt fell into a dark, hole. Egypt now is very weak. Lots of taxes, lots of Egyptians are very poor. Tyrant governments, right, for decades. And the Franks were very happy with this. Why? And they said it, I'll show you the letters. They said it. They said, now our back is safe. Meaning what? We can focus on Nuruddin Zengi knowing that no attacks come from here. Right? But something happened, all of a sudden they realized, Nuruddin Zengi is very strong. Maybe we can go this direction. So they attacked the city of Asqalan, which is on the border of Egypt, right? Gaza in Egypt, right? And they took the city of Asqalan from Egypt. Now, when Nuruddin Zengi saw this, he became very worried. Why? Why do you think Nuruddin Zengi is very worried that this city falls to the Crusaders? Because what is he afraid of? He's afraid from something very strategic. If he is powerful, what if the Franks start going, Egypt is weak? What if they go this way? What if they take Egypt? Egypt is one of the wealthiest countries in the region, heavily populated. And Egypt is weak. So he realized Egypt can fall. They're Ismailis, but they should not fall to the Franks. So now he had to do something. So he started, I have to move my forces all the way to start checking them and attacking them here. But it's a long way. So he said to the ruler of Damascus, he said, I'm not going to attack you. All what I want is one thing, just logistics. Let my troops rest and just guarantee there is, a supply line. I need you to help me because we cannot allow them to go here, to Asqalan. What do you think the ruler of Damascus did? You can guess by now, right? Is it obvious? He viewed Nuruddin Zengi as extremely dangerous, right? So he sent to the Franks, please come and help me. Nuruddin Zengi wants to come to the city, you know, and it's not to your good interest. We have a treaty. And the Crusaders did that. They sent their army to protect Damascus from Nuruddin. Now what happened? When the Franks were around the city of Damascus, their soldiers started what? Destroying the crops, oppressing the farmers, taking properties, and reports reached Nuruddin Zengi that, you know, the Franks are now around Damascus, and the Muslims, and the ruler of Damascus is doing nothing. And they're oppressing people left and right. So Nuruddin Zengi sent this letter. And I want you to read it, it's very interesting. This is the letter he sent to the ruler of Damascus. He took his forces and went to Damascus. And he sent this letter. And the letter, I want you to read what he's saying. He's saying the following. I have not pitched camp here in order to make war against you or lay siege. I'm not like my dad. I'm not taking cities by force. I'm not interested in attacking you. I'm not here for that. And then he says, only the many complaints of the Muslims have induced me to act in this way, for farmers have been despoiled of their goods and separated from their children by the Franks. And they have no one to defend them. Since God bestowed on me power to grant safety to the Muslims and wage war on the Franks, it would be impermissible for me to neglect them and fail to come to their defense. Allah gave me power, and Muslims are being attacked in a neighbor nation. And I said just make dua and that's not permissible. Allah gave me strength and power. They are under attack, it's my duty to come and help. Something to reflect on. Right? And then he says the following, especially that I know that you're unable to protect, and I'm aware of your degeneration, which led you to seek the aid of the Franks and deliver goods of your poorest people to them, people whom you have criminally wronged. This pleases neither God nor any Muslim. And he sent this letter to the scholars in Damascus. Now what do you think is happening? The scholars are with who? Obvious. He won the hearts of the scholars. People are like, you know, they now hear about this letter and the people are really upset. They view Nuruddin as what? A hero. He's not attacking us. He's coming to defend us. And this ruler of ours is A and B and C, right? So he started to win the hearts of the people in Damascus and the scholars inside of the city of Damascus, right? Gradually, what happened? So Nuruddin Zengi comes, starts again ambushing the Franks, right? Helping people, communicating with the city of Damascus, and then he communicates with the scholars in the city. And eventually the scholars of the city of Damascus, they told Nuruddin Zengi, enough is enough. And some of the soldiers and the people inside the city are tired of this. And they all love him. So he said, next day, Fajr Salah, come to this door, we're opening the city for you. You can come in, take the city. We're done. Right? And subhanAllah, Nuruddin Zengi succeeds in taking the city of Damascus without shedding a single drop of blood. The city that his father fought and could not take. Nuruddin Zengi took it by what? By following the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by winning the hearts of people, not by forcing them, by the scholars of his time, by the support of scholars, by being truthful and sincere. When you win the hearts of people, people will do things, right? And people were so happy. This was a game changer. Why? For the first time, the three big cities in Sham are under one rule. Nuruddin Zengi now unified Sham. And the Franks, you can tell, this is not good news at all. Because now all Sham is united, right, against the Franks. And Nuruddin Zengi is adamant, knowing who he is, right? Right. So what happened is the Franks were, again, Nuruddin Zengi fought so many, there is not a single year from this, you know, that when you read the books of history, Nuruddin Zengi fought, Nuruddin Zengi won, Nuruddin Zengi freed this, Nuruddin Zengi, and some of his commanders like Asad ad-Din Shirkuh, and, you know, very famous people, right, came to power. Asad ad-Din Shirkuh is the right hand of Nuruddin Zengi. That's the commander, the one that fought in some of the battles. He would actually kill the leaders, and people were terrified of this commander of his. The soldiers under Nuruddin Zengi was a different caliber. Why? Because he had scholars within the camps of the soldiers. Right? And this we know. and they taught soldiers, and there is a lot of Quran, a lot of dua, a lot of dhikr, right? So he had an army that was quite powerful. Nevertheless, as usual, something happened. He was not all the time victorious. One of the years, the Franks realized every year he attacks. So they decide, let's ambush him. They gathered all their forces from all the cities, and they laid an ambush. It's called Waqat al-Baqiyah, in a place where Nuruddin Zengi is coming to attack. And Nuruddin Zengi comes and lays his camp, not aware, and they took him by surprise. And they attacked the camp of Nuruddin Zengi before he can have his formations. And they overpowered the guards. And they went inside, and a huge battle happened. And they reached the tent of Nuruddin Zengi himself. And he was not even in his war gear, if you will. And people are fighting left and right, and they were about to capture Nuruddin Zengi. One of his soldiers came, stepped aside from the horse, gave it to Nuruddin Zengi. Yes, Sayyidi, please take some of the soldiers and escape. And Nuruddin Zengi runs with this horse, with some of the knights, and it was a defeat, and Muslims died, and it seems like Nuruddin Zengi has been defeated. And one of the scholars with him narrates this. He says once Nuruddin Zengi galloped like a mile or so, he stopped and he started gathering all the knights, all the people, put his tent and his flag and gather everybody, and now 1,000 knights came with him, and he started to lay camp, and let's call the rest of the soldiers. And that scholar came to him and said, yes, Sayyidi, this is not good. What are you doing? The Franks are here. And if you put your tent, and they will come, and you have only 1,000, and they will take you. This is not a good idea. Don't risk yourself. What will happen to the Muslims if we lose you? Finally, we have you, Nuruddin Zengi, that unified, and you're leading them. Please, you're so precious, don't do this. And Nuruddin Zengi says the following. He says, by Allah, if Allah gives me 1,000 soldiers, I am not afraid to attack them. I will not retreat. I have 1,000 soldiers and knights with me. I will stay here if they come and attack. And he used to fight himself. He used to fight with 2 swords. Right? And I am going to go fight myself. And that scholar says, Billah, I ask you by Allah, please do not do this. This is too risky. You're too important. With 1,000 soldiers, you're going to fight yourself. They kill you. What will happen? Think about Islam. Think about the Muslimin. Think about what will happen to us. Who will defend us? We need you. Don't do that. It's too risky. Said Nuruddin Zengi, tears. He was teary-eyed, and he said, who am I? Who am I that you tell me this? You're telling me what? That I'm the one defending Islam? And then he said this. Who was it that defended Islam before Nuruddin Zengi? That is Allah. الذي لا إله إلا هو. It is not me. It's Allah that's defending Islam. Lesson in Tawheed. Do you think that I am the one defending Islam? Do you think it's a one-man show? No. You see me and you do not see through me? You don't see Allah? That means I veiled you from Allah. That's a problem. The one that's really defending Islam is not me, I'm the means. Allah is the one that's defending Islam. Our cause will not die if I die. That is the heart of Nuruddin Zengi. He made an oath. I will not see a roof of a house till I venge the defeat of the Muslims in this battle. You know what that means? It's going to be camping and on the go in tents and gathering soldiers till he gathers enough soldiers and defeat the Franks. And his soldiers came, told him, Ya Nuruddin, and notice the soldiers, right? Look, you're spending so much money on those scholars, those turbans, right? You're donating so much money to the schools and the people that are studying. Now we need the money. We need to make another army, and it's to defend them. Take the money you're giving to those people in the masjids worshipping, the worshippers in the masjid. Take their money. Give it to us so we can buy some new equipment and some new horses. We'll defend them. You know what's the answer of Nuruddin Zengi to this? He said the following: You want me to take money from people that fight for me day and night with arrows that never miss, and give it to you, and you fight only when I'm with you and your arrows hit and miss? Their dua is an arrow that never miss. And then he did what? قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, starts quoting a hadith عن سعد بن أبي وقاص عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم that he said هل تنصرون إلا بدعافائكم وأتقيائكم. That the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, do you think that Allah gives you provision or victory except through the dua of those righteous and weak ones among you? Those people, they fight. And their dua is as effective as your weapon. Nuruddin Zengi believed in dua. The one that's fighting in the battlefield believes that the people making dua for him is more effective than the people with him. He does both. Both. Dua is important and fighting is important. We need people on both sides. Those people in the masjid making dua for me, we're winning because of their dua. They need my support. I will not take money from scholars or people studying or people that are worshipping. They need support. And they help me like you. It's not only the soldiers. He understood that. And that's why people love Nuruddin Zengi. He does not take it onto them. In the name of difficulty, let everybody be miserable. And let's collect taxes. No taxes. If you ask them, no taxes, what's going on? The people in his time changed because of the scholars. It is said in his time, people, by the way, the wife of Nuruddin Zengi, she made the biggest hospital in the region. And she used to study pharmacology, and she used to make medicine herself, and she used to go out give medicine to the poor. The women of the time, their role was schools, support for kids, orphans, Quran, endowments. There was a huge movement of charity and waqf. You know what waqf is? Endowments. So he's not taking any taxes, but people, to the extent, there was one story found it in the books that a woman came to Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, right? And she told him the following: this is the man that wants to marry me. You know dowry, when you get married, how much do they ask for? Dowry, right? Very sensitive topic. So this woman came and said, this guy wants to get married to me, and he doesn't have much money. So I asked him that my dowry is going to be, he serves in your school for free for 1 year. Not a dowry, right? My dowry is you come serve in this masjid for 1 year for free. That's the dowry. This is how much people changed. So there was a change happening. They say at the time, people would go out trying to give charity, and there's nobody to give charity. He built the infrastructure that he built in all the cities. It was not only he built the cities, hospitals, free healthcare, to the extent even of parks. We hear of parks and and the trees that he built and the ornaments, and it was a complete movement of Nuruddin Zengi. He really built the infrastructure of the Muslim Ummah. And people changed, right? Right. Before I stop, I'll just introduce what happened. What about Egypt? Egypt was very weak. And the Franks realized, now Nuruddin is defeated here, maybe it's time for us to go take Egypt. So what we'll see next is what? Egypt. And now it's a race to the Nile. The Franks want Egypt, and Nuruddin Zengi is, I cannot let them take Egypt. And Egypt is extremely weak. In 1 year, it had 14 different wazirs. And the state of the Egyptians at this time was incredibly bad under the Franks. They say even starvation. Egyptians used to eat dogs and cats. They had to pay money, they tax money if they want to drink from the river Nile. The state of Egypt it's a very rich country, extremely rich, but the money was not distributed equally. The wealthy was too wealthy, and the poor was utterly poor, right? However, there was one city, the city of Alexandria, that had some Sunni scholars there. And Nuruddin Zengi was in communication with them. But the rest of Egypt, things aren't right. And the Franks realized this is their next move. And what is going to happen next is a race to the Nile, right? A race between those three powers, Nuruddin, the Franks, and you can see the size of Egypt. Who will win? What will happen? Inshallah, that's what we'll see, inshallah, our next session. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك والعصر ان الانسان لفي خسر الا الذين امنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر جزاكم الله خيرا